So let's move on. We were looking at different ways of doing fine tuning, and our conclusion was that just fine tuning all the parameters, at least from a performance point of view, turns out to be the winner. Now there is similarly, just as we are looking at pre-training and fine tuning, now we'll think about multitask learning, and I'll tell you what that is, right? So here, what we were doing is so far is you are pre-training the model and then fine-tuning it on independent tasks, downstream tasks, right? But we also had an observation that adding more high-quality data to pre-training actually improves the performance. Right? That was the C4 experiments and using the unfiltered C4 experiment. So then based on that, here's an idea, right? Why not add all the data sets that you have for fine tuning, which might typically be good quality data sets, to the pre-training itself, right? And then train the model together on all the data sets by mixing all of them together, right? So what does that mean, right? In the case of T5, where everything is just text in, text out, this is very easy to do, because now if you have a translation task, you would just have this part as the prefix, and then you will start doing the prefix language modeling, trying to predict the next token after this, which would be the Tamil translation. Similarly for the summarized task, similarly for detecting the similarity between two sentences, right, which would just output a number. And we have seen this before, right? So the unified T5 framework, where every task is just treated as predicting a token, the next token, which may be a class, or it may be a summary or a translation. Everything is just text in, text out, right? So in that setup, you could think of the following way of pre-training, where you have the C4 dataset. Of course, that's the largest dataset that you have, so that will dominate. And then you have all these other datasets, which are task-specific datasets, which are some of these are sentence similarity, summarization, question answering, machine translation. All of this fed during training, pre-training itself, right? So you just do a multitask training, and you treat the original C4 task, which was just predict the next token, also as one of these tasks in your training, along with the other more specialized tasks like sentiment analysis, question answering, and so on. Right? So everything becomes like a task, and you have a single objective, the denoising objective. In the case of translation, as I had said earlier, you would do a specific corruption, which is you have the input. Yeah, translate. Oops. Yeah. Translate to Tamil, then you have the English sentence that you want to try. So all of this acts as the prefix, and then you will just mark the entire Tamil translation by a sentinel, and then you would want the model to predict this Tamil translation, right? So this again falls in the denoising objective, right? And any other task, similarly, if you have question answering, right? So then you would have the passage, the question, and then you'll have answer the question based on the passage, right? This may be the prefix. So answer the question based on the passage, and then all of this is given to the model, and then you mask out the answer by a sentinel, and you have to predict the answer, right? So all of this can be done in this unified denoising objective framework, and that was an interesting idea that came out in this paper, right? Treat everything as text in, text out, because that's what you want at the end of the day, right? Okay. Yeah, so now again, for fair comparison, if you're going to add all of this during training, then you can train for 2 raised to 19, because earlier you were using 2 raised to 19 steps for pre-training and then 2 raised to 18 steps for fine-tuning. So now you will combine all of that together and train the model for 2 raised to 19 plus 2 raised to 18 steps, right? So that's the general multitask learning setup. Then how do you combine these data sets? Because as I said, C4 data set has a large number of tokens, and there might be some single sentiment analysis data hiding here, which might just have 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 examples. So how do you balance across these different data sets, right? So if, sorry, it's not coming in the right order. Yeah. Yeah, so as being said here, right, the data set for all the tasks may not be uniform, so hence you should use some sort of sampling strategy. And here's one simple sampling strategy, right? So what you want to do is you want to make sure that all of these data sets are in some fair proportion, so that some data sets are not underrepresented, and obviously then the performance on those data sets would be poor, right? So here's one way of doing this. So let's assume that you set an artificial limit that for any given task, I'm not going to have more than k samples. So my size of the data set is capped at k across all these tasks, right? And there is there are a total of n tasks, and each of these tasks has en samples, right? So E1, E2, E3, and some of these may be greater than k, some of these would be less than k, some of them would be much greater than k, right? Then the probability of seeing sample from the mth task during training is given by the following formula, right? So it's because you're going to restrict it to k. So for a given task, there are two possibilities, that E1 was less than k, in which case the number of samples that you will see during training would be even, because you have capped at k, so anything less than even k would pass, right? Or even is greater than equal to k, in which case it doesn't matter what the value is even, you are going to see only k samples, right? So for a given task, either you would whatever is the minimum of E1 and k, that is what you will see. If E1 is less than k, then you will see even samples. Is even is greater than k, then you will k samples, right? So that's why this formula. So the probability of seeing now based on this formula, you can write down the number of samples that you would see for each of these tasks, right? I'll call this E1 hat, E2 hat, E3 hat, where this is just a min of E1 comma k, right? So E1 hat is what the numerator is, right? So the probability of seeing a sample from the mth task is just going to be E1 or Em hat divided by sum over all the samples for all the tasks, right? That's what this formula is saying, basic simple probability. Now here, of course, if Em is less, then that's the problem that you're trying to solve, because then if Em is small, some task had only 1000 samples and your k was say 100,000, then that task is going to see very less data as compared to other tasks which have more training data available, right? So that's the that's the occurrence that you're trying to correct for, right? So what you could do is you can use something known as temperature mixing, where this is your original probability, but instead of using Rm, you'll use Rm raised to 1 by T, where T is called the temperature. Now suppose this is the original distribution, so this means that this task, the first two tasks, there is lesser probability of selecting a sample from those two tasks, because E1 hat and E2 hat would have been smaller, whereas for the last task there is a higher probability of selecting the sample, right? So now if you increase the temperature, then you go towards uniform distribution. If you decrease the temperature, then the winner takes it all, right? So this last task, which was already at temperature equal to 1, which is the default setting or the vanilla setting, this task was already having a lot of samples, right? Or the probability of seeing a sample from this task was high, because perhaps that task had, not perhaps, because that task had a large number of samples in the training data. So the numerator would be high for that task, and hence it was a higher probability. Now if you decrease the temperature, then that peaks up, and that's obvious from this formula, because it would become Rm raised to 1 by a small quantity, which would be Rm raised to a large quantity, and hence Rm, which was already large, would become even larger, and then the other things would actually shrink, right? The smaller quantities would shrink further, right? But if you increase the temperature, then everything starts becoming uniform, right? And this is, I think we have seen this during softmax also, adding a temperature to the softmax formula. So this is exactly similar to that, right? Exactly, it's written here. Okay, so now this is what you could do. You could appropriately turn the temperature so that you get something between a uniform distribution and a very skewed distribution, some sweet spot you hit. So that's what you typically use for doing a mixture of multiple data sets, right? So this is known as examples proportional. That means it's proportional to the original number of examples that you had, or you want to make it some sort of each task is getting some share of the total training data. Now here we are comparing with the baseline approach, right, where all you just do pre-training and then you do fine-tuning, right? This is the default that we have been doing so far. You pre-train for 2 raised to 19 steps and then you fine-tune for 2 raised to 18 steps, so that's the performance that you get. Then you have an equal mixing strategy where you take equal data from all the tasks, and here you can see clearly some tasks suffer, right, because they had more training data, but in the interest of giving equal share to everyone, you lost out on those tasks, right? They could have been trained better. Then they tried different examples proportional, where they changed the value of k. K was, remember, this artificial upper cap that you had set on the data set, and they increased it from 2 raised to 16 to 2 raised to 21. Not going into the details of the numbers here, but you can see that roughly none of these rows, right, these 5 rows, they do not do better than the first row, which was pre-training followed by fine-tuning, right? And then even if you change the temperature, which will control whether you're using a uniform distribution or you're going towards a skewed distribution, even that does affect the performance, but it does not still come close to the first row here, which is pre-training followed by fine-tuning, right? So none of this has a much effect on the performance, or it does not look like you should use any of these strategies, but instead just stick to the baseline strategy, which is pre-train and then fine-tune. Now you could do something else. You could do this multitask learning followed by fine tuning, right? So again, you could do first do a joint training with all the data sets and then fine tune, joint fine tuning, right? Again, you mix all the data sets together and then do a fine tuning, right? So you're first teaching it about the language and then again reinforcing about specific tasks here. And then you'll have to split the number of training steps because you will do this for 2 raised to 19 and then this for 2 raised to 18. As opposed to earlier where you were only doing this stage, there was no fine tuning after that. So you would have 2 raised to 19 plus 2 raised to 18 steps together for this this stage itself, right? So again, the reason I'm like repeating these numbers and all is to make sure that you understand that when you're doing such a study, it's important to keep all factors constant and vary only the one which you care about, right? So in this case, you care about understanding whether multitask pre-training followed by joint fine tuning is better or not, right? And then you cannot change the number of steps. You cannot joint fine tune for more than what you had done earlier or do a larger multitask pre-training than what you had done earlier. So you have to keep those parameters constant, right? And then there is a relaxed multitask learning. So in the joint fine tuning case, what you do is you mix all the data sets and then you take one model at the end, which is the same model that you will apply for all the tasks, right? But in a relaxed multitask learning setup, what you can do is that you can take a different checkpoint for each task, right? So what does that mean, right? So this is, you have started fine tuning, okay? And you are tracking the validation errors at different tasks, right? So say this is the validation error for glue. This is what the validation error for CNN DM looks like, right? So now this checkpoint seems to be the best checkpoint for glue and this checkpoint seems to be the best checkpoint for CNN DM, right? So that's what I'm going to do. Although I'm jointly fine tuning on all the data sets, I'm tracking the validation errors separately for each task. And for each task, I'll take that checkpoint which gives me the best performance for that task, right? So that is what this relaxed multitask learning means. Okay. So they consider 3 variants in this setup, right? So remember pre-training for 2 raised to 19 steps and then fine-tuning for 2 raised to 18 steps. The first was multitask pre-training where you use all the data sets. So you have the C4 data set as well as all the data sets and then fine-tune again by jointly combining all the data sets. This looks like the naive or the simplest thing to do, right? I mean, not using, not putting much thought into it, just combine all the data sets during pre-training, then combine all the task-specific data sets during fine-tuning. Of course, during fine-tuning, you won't have the C4 data set because that's the pre-training task. That's not a specific task on which you are evaluating at test time. Then leave one out pre-training where you sort of combine all the data sets but leave one of them out and then just fine-tune on that data set. So this is to see that if you don't see a data set during training and then you are going to fine-tune on that task, then does it still amount to the same as including that data in the pre-training? If yes, then I would rather not add it during pre-training, right? Because it looks like I can always use just the generic C4 dataset where I'm trying to teach it about the language and then add task-specific data sets later on during the fine-tuning stage, right? And then the other one is yeah, so same thing, right? So you could have again remove CNN DM and then fine tune on CNN, right? So this is just showing the leave one out pre-training. So you would do this for multiple different tasks. The third variant that they try is supervised pre-training, right? So in that case, there is no C4 data set. You're just doing a pre-training with all the task-specific data sets pooled together. So the C4 data set, which was just doing the next token prediction task, you're not considering that. You're just saying that in my world of NLP, these are the tasks: question answering, sentiment analysis, predicting the similarity between sentences, doing translation. So I'm going to consider all of that, but not do this actual pre-training task, which was just to predict the next token, right? And then you're going to fine tune it on all the tasks again, and then either do a relaxed fine tuning, that means you take the best checkpoint for each task, or just take the joint best checkpoint for each task, right? Yeah, so the joint best checkpoint, right, while I'm on that, So as I was saying that you could track the validation error for each task separately and then take the best checkpoint for each of those tasks. Or in addition, you could also, let me just change the color. Oops. Yeah. In addition, you could just pool in the, or you could just track the average performance, right, which is the performance averaged across all the tasks. And then suppose this is the best checkpoint, then you can take this best checkpoint for all the tasks. There is no task specific checkpoint, but a single checkpoint which on average did the best on all the tasks. Right? So that's what I mean by taking a single checkpoint versus taking multiple checkpoints for each task. Okay. So they did all this and you can see the results. So this one is the vanilla thing that we have been looking at so far, which is you do the pre-training, then you do a fine tuning. And the short summary of this table is that that seems to be the best choice, as opposed to multitask training where you just do multitask training but combining all the data sets, but then there is no separate fine tuning. Then you have multitask pre-training plus fine tuning, right, where you're doing the two stages. Then you have, as compared to the first row, here the difference is that in the first row your pre-training was happening only on the C4 data set, but in the third row you are pooling together all the data sets, right, and that seems to perform comparatively to the first row. Then you have the leave one out multitask training, and here again you can see that even though you are leaving one of the tasks out and then evaluating on that task, your performance is still close to the first row, right. So there was not much value of adding that task to the pre-training. You could have, it's okay if you forgot to add a few tasks or you came up with a new task which was not available during the pre-training time, because pre-training is going to take a lot of time. Now maybe tomorrow you come up with a new task for which data you had not seen during pre-training. This row is showing, that leave one out row, that you could still do well on those tasks, right. The last row is just supervised multitask pre-training, so there was no unsupervised objective during training, and you can see that across the board the performance is generally lower for that task, right, except for translation tasks where it performs better, because for translation tasks you have much more data in these three language pairs that are evaluated here, right. So again, fine tuning after pre-training is comparable to our baseline. The performance of leave and out is only slightly worse, which indicates that it's okay if you leave a few tasks out of pre-training. And supervised multitask learning helps only in translation. That's the only task in which the pre-training sort of seems to be useless. But in all other tasks, it sort of is beneficial, right? So just doing a supervised multitask pre-training without having the unsupervised objective seems to lead to drops in performance, right, if you look at the first four columns. And the unsupervised pre-training plus fine-tuning, which was our default approach, seems to be the best, right? So in hindsight, this all looks obvious. I mean, that's the vanilla thing you would have done, okay, just pre-train and then fine-tune. But it helps to know that someone did all these systematic comparisons and then arrived at a conclusion. So now we are done with it for once, right? Okay, this is the best way to go forward, right? Okay.